Hi guys, so I wanted to make a video about the SPI and hopefully this should help you with your studies. I took my SPI on June 12th and before that, two other students took their SPI and we were able to collaborate and see how similar our tests were, and I'm able to use our information to hopefully help you guys. So right away, I want to just say for your test, you're able to flag your questions that say you're not sure of and you're able to go back to. So that was like huge for me. I went through all the questions and whichever one I didn't know, I just flagged. And at the end of the test, I went back to them and I probably had 40 questions I wasn't sure of. Um, but just know that, take it one question at a time and don't freak out if you have as many as I do, or maybe even more. So, I'm going to talk about what we saw and things just to look out for. So, intensity values, I would know your intensity values such as SPTP being the highest and SPTA being the average. Specular scattering, Rayleigh scatter for sure. Head form. So I had a question about head form, like how you're going to look at the machine. And so me and another student actually had the same exact question. And it was like, how are you going to look at the machine? Are you going to look left? Are you going to look right? Are you going to look up, down, or straight towards the machine? And obviously, you're going to look straight at the machine. You don't want to, you can cause strain to your neck or stuff like that. So straight at the machine is pretty straightforward with that one. Let's see. So harmonics, what is it going to be like with and without harmonics? And maybe even know what harmonics is. Definitely PZT effect, ideal thickness of the matching layer. Bandwidth was definitely on there. Low Q, broadband, range of frequency, pulse of sound, Q factor, operating frequency, and maybe even know the equation for it. Huygens principle was on there, diffraction, focus, near field, axial resolution. I would even know the equation for axial resolution. A lot of lateral resolution. So yeah, axial and lateral were big on my test. Ways to say lateral resolution and axial resolution. So you have lata and then you have lard. So know what those names are going to be. Know that lateral is equal to beam diameter. You want to know the types of transducers. I had a specific question that said, what does endocavity transducers do? And they provide better resolution. So if you get that question, I was kind of between two of them, penetration or better resolution. So I chose better resolution. Apodization, impedance, no PRF, range resolution. Know your ultrasound imaging components like the memory, display, transducer, pulsar functions. Know the 5 functions of receiver, NZL, compensation, compression. Know your dynamic range, longitudinal, frequency, rectification, and smoothing. Scan converter, know that scan converter is another name for it is going to be memory. Fill in interpolation. I had 2 questions on absorption, and one of my questions was very simple. It was just what heats up tissue, and it's going to be absorption. B mode, M mode, A mode, sector scan, 2D grayscale, compression, acoustic variables, pressure. No 3D and 4D. As far as I remember, I may have had one 3D. I know that they're talking about incorporating 3D and 4D, so maybe just know those two specifically. No temporal frame rate, line density, hemodynamics, beam steering, viscosity, friction, inertia, spatial compounding, frequency compounding. I only had one math problem and I think it was pretty simple. I think it was just like divided by 2. I'm pretty sure it was like, I don't remember what it was, but it was pretty simple. So we have linear curved transducer, and you want to know what shape they form. So I had one question, it said, does it form a square or does it form a parallelogram? Um, Definitely on here is Reynolds number. That was my last question I was looking at, and the question was, what creates turbulent flow? And it's Reynolds number. It also tells you laminar flow, but the question specifically asked about turbulent, so it's going to be Reynolds. I also had a patient care question talking about abortion, and so the questions asked, what would you do if the patient asked about abortion? And we know that we're not allowed to talk about that type of thing, so we would refer them to a specialist. Let's see, phasticity, inspiration, and expiration. Know which direction the diaphragm is going to move. I would know everything on Doppler. Doppler was like huge on our exam. If we could guess, our test was like 70% Doppler. Know all the angles, equations, know continuous wave, color Doppler. I had 2 interactive questions, and one was just adjusting the gain. And on that question, adjusting the gain, you can go, I think it was like really bright, and so you want to adjust it lower. So you can adjust it from, I think it was like 75% or 50%. And so they kind of grade you on which answer you're going to choose. If you're going to go like 25%, that's obviously going to be wrong. So I picked 75%. That was a big question that I studied off of Exam Refresh, and you could have picked 50 and that would still be right. So those 2 answers would still be counted as right, but they just want to see if you know what you're doing. Another one that I had was aliasing. So the other interactive question I had was, how do you fix this aliasing? So mine personally had adjust the scale. So that was my 2 interactive questions. I had a picture also of a color box, and it was just asking where was the blood flowing, which direction was it flowing. And so for mine, it had the scale, and so it had the red, and it was obviously flowing towards the transducer. But you want to make sure that you're looking at that scale, because if it's blue on top and it's red on the bottom, then it's going to be blue is going towards the transducer. So you really want to make sure you look at that scale. Know all your artifacts: shadow, reverberation, comet tail, speed error, side lobe. For side lobe, know that it's from a single and grading is from multi. Subdicing, know that grading lobes will help with subdicing. Attenuation artifacts, Doppler artifacts. Cleaning equipment, there was a question, how often do you clean your equipment? Test object, sensitivity, ALARA, ergonomics, coded excitation, velocity scales, how do you fix aliasing, adjusting your baseline up and down, distance, the 13 microsecond rule, rate of speed in soft tissue. So no, bone is 40, 80, air is 330. Can sound travel in a vacuum? No. Know your wavelength definition, maybe even know the formula. Hardness and stiffness, sound speed in different objects such as liquid, gases, solids. Duty factor, I had this specific question, what is it? The answer gave me fraction of blah, blah, blah. So we know that it's fraction and it's a percentage, but my answer only provided fraction. So make sure you know fraction and percentage, because they could try and trick you. Know SPL, amplitude, constructive, destructive, refraction, specular reflection, I just wanted to know 90-degree angle, backing material, damping. I had a weird question. Honestly, I still don't know what it is. Whoever wants to tell me, that's great. So the machine, how it's operated, does it operate mechanical to electrical, or does it operate kinetic energy to electrical, or mechanical to blah blah blah? So I'm still not sure on that question. I couldn't tell you. If I looked into it, I would probably find the answer, but I haven't looked that much into it. Let's see what else. Okay, so I had this specific question, A, B, C, D. It was really weird. I was the only person that got this question, of course. So it looks like this. And so there's going to be different colored boxes right here. And it would ask me what is describing the axial resolution. And so I went with A. That was my guess. But honestly, I've never seen anything like this pyramid before. So, yeah, my friend, she got dots. So we know horizontal is going to have dots like this, and axial will have dots coming down in like this type of direction. So I didn't get anything like that. I got color boxes for some reason. Yeah, I've never seen anything like that before. But yeah, hopefully this can help out with your studying, and now you know what to study. I studied from the Green Edelman book, and I thought that book was awesome. They had about 600 questions from there, and that's mainly how I studied. A lot of the questions in the Green Edelman book are like spot on to the SPI, and like the way they are worded is pretty spot on. So, hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it helps. Good luck on your SPI.